Hello and welcome to Auto Today. My name is Abhik.
And I'm Dipayan.
And today we're in for an interesting debate.
You see, I think Abhik is a little too lazy for his own good.
And I think Dipayan is too hyper, well, anyone's good.
And when it comes to riding motorcycles, we are usually in a bit of a fix.
But Honda has a solution for us.
This is the new 2021 Honda CBR650R.
But wait, what's new here? Isn't this the same borderline boring tepid latte in a brand new cup?
You see, assumptions will be the death of you. This isn't the CBR650F anymore. This is a full-bodied shot of espresso, and you know when Honda put an R in the name, they mean business.
Well, in that case, let me introduce you to something properly brand new. That's the CB650R.
You're a sucker for Streetfighters, aren't you? That's going to be a pick, isn't it?
Now who's making assumptions? He's right. I do love Street Fighters, but in this case, I am making an exception. In fact, I have even managed to surprise myself with my choice. What is also surprising is how Honda has transformed this motorcycle since its origins as a do-it-all, jack-of-all-trades but master of none sport tourer. Till the time it had F in its name, the CBR650 was a bit boring with its linear power delivery and much of its 4-cylinder Supersport genes tucked away in the higher reaches of the rev range, which was fairly inaccessible during day-to-day riding. But guess what? Honda has managed to put in a bit of soul, a little bit of character in reimagining this motorcycle.
And speaking of reimagined things, the Honda CB650R is a completely brand new product for India. Now, where the CBR gets styling inspired by the Fireblade, the CB follows Honda's new sports cafe philosophy. Now, the Honda CB650R bridges the gap between the 300cc and the 1000cc Street Fighters, but with its own signature neo-retro sports cafe Street Fighter style.
The aesthetics aren't the only new bits. Underneath the gorgeous bodywork of this CBR650R and exposed on the CB650R is a 648 inline 4 that sees a plethora of revisions including a remapped ECU, revised cam lobes and intake valve timing, and a brand new exhaust system amongst other things. And here's proof.
The result is a fairly tractable engine at lower revs and a proper inline-4 screamer as the revs climb above 6000 RPM. No longer is the performance lackluster. In fact, there's a fair bit of excitement being delivered as you accelerate through the short ratio gearbox and ramp up the pace, while the exhaust plays a surprisingly delightful soundtrack in the tune with your right hand. But as you approach a corner is where the 650s play the ace up their sleeve.
SHOWA supplies their separate function big piston upside down forks to both bikes, along with SHOWA monoshock to handle rear suspension duties. And these have brought the handling game up from the soft setup of the 650F to a tight taut damping of the Rs. They offer just the right amount of stiffness to thoroughly enjoy the corners, while even being able to dampen the rougher bits and tall speed humps without having to nurse the motorcycle over them.
No adjustability for the suspension, and the electronics are limited to a simple on or off traction control. Honda likes to keep things simple, but as a result, what stands out is the mechanical grip and the ergonomics that instill confidence on the twisty bits.
While the CB650 uses an upright posture with rear set pegs, typical of sport nakeds, the CBR650R pitches the rider forward with the rear set pegs, making this rider's triangle much more sportier than before. So now you can lean into corners with purpose and pick up the bike while exiting the corner and laying down the power. Now here's the reason why I chose the CBR650R over the CB, and that's because the CB kind of locks you in position because the seats are placed lower on both motorcycles, and while that might be good for comfort, on the CB650R it locks you in position, and my 5'8" frame found that very uncomfortable. In fact, it even robbed away some of my confidence. The CB does seem tailored and better suited to taller riders.
Now dropping anchor on the CB650 and the CBR650R is quite an experience with strong feedback from the brakes. Now it's quite surprising to find this kind of braking performance outside of race replicas, but both these motorcycles managed to do an excellent job of feedback at the levers, and not to mention the bite from the 4-piston Nissan calipers is absolutely exceptional. ABS too is not really that intrusive and keeps you out of trouble without really getting in the way.
But all isn't well in the Honda world, is it?
There are a few things to complain about.
The fancy suspension doesn't have any adjustability.
There's no electronic aids or rider modes.
And what's with the left side switchgear? It's so not intuitive.
And not to mention the mile-high price tag that puts it almost square in the territory of much higher capacity motorcycles.
But you know what? Both these products make for very likable motorcycles in their own right. I mean, imagine people upgrading from a low capacity motorcycle to a multi-cylinder format like this, and even experienced riders to have a lot of fun on.
Well, that's it from us on the Honda CB650R and the CBR650. Let us know what you think of both these motorcycles in the comments.
And remember to subscribe to the Auto Today channel for the latest automotive content.
We will see you soon.